Wireless LAN Professionals Podcast, episode 158.
The Sidekick was then born out of some of those pain points that our customers were explaining of, not a long enough battery life to perform these surveys in an efficient manner, and not enough power output, and laptops, coming out with fewer and fewer USB ports, created all these different pain points that we had to kind of, come up with this new product.
Wireless LAN Professionals is a place to educate, inform, encourage, and entertain those involved in wireless LANs. This Wireless LAN Professionals podcast is an audio manifestation of these goals. Our host is a wireless LAN veteran, consultant, designer, and teacher, Keith Parsons. And now, the podcast for wireless LAN professionals by wireless LAN professionals.
We're going to talk about another one of the pages in the WLAN Pros notebook. This one happens to be the RF coax connectors. Very simply, we put on here just a visual picture of the different types of connectors you might be running across as a wireless LAN professional, specifically so you can look and see the naming convention we've used for things like male and female have usually been something that's obvious. It's the big parts you see. But specifically in our world and in the connectors we use, the male and female is more about what the inside pin is doing rather than what the outside is doing. In fact, sometimes the outside looks like it's female, but it's actually a male on the inside, or sometimes it's reverse. It's a female on the outside and looks like a male on the inside. So we need to call them properly. We'll call them either jacks or plugs, and you'll have a pin that's male or female. So we can have a male plug with a male pin, or a female jack with a female pin, and a whole bunch of combinations. And so we just gave you pictures of all these. So when you're looking, shopping, reviewing hardware that you see on site or something, you can quickly review and take a look at it. If there's any other thing you'd like to add as a resource that you use on a daily or weekly basis at your work, just let us know and we'll add it to our next version of the notebook. Thank you.
Let's get to know our colleagues and friends with a shared passion for Wi-Fi. It's time to search who is.
Well, Jerry, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Matthew. I'm excited to be on.
Yeah. So for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself. Yeah. What's the world of Jerry looking like?
The world of Jerry. Wow. That's quite the
movie title.
Yeah. Man, it sounds so exciting. I didn't realize I had that kind of title. World of Jerry today is it's been an exciting, start to the year, and we're already over halfway through the year here, but at the beginning of the year I changed roles within Ekahau and went over to the product management side, and still, even 6+ months down the road, still learning the ropes and stuff there, but really enjoying it, and all the new challenges that come with that.
Very cool. So you're with Ekahau, and you've been with Ekahau how long now?
It's been about 2.5 years already.
Wow.
It's flying by, but I've been enjoying the ride.
With that transition and now 2.5 years and job change within Ekahau, what has changed about your perspective on Wi-Fi, the industry, maybe just even technically? What things have you learned more about Wi-Fi, or just what's changed? Where's your perspective come from in the last 2.5 years?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and thinking about even with the role changes of how that's kind of changed some of my perspective. Where previously, prior to Ekahau, I was an Ekahau customer for a number of years, using the tool, boots on the ground, designing Wi-Fi networks, deploying Wi-Fi networks. And then, kind of changing, going into a sales engineer role for a while, and really just talking about Wi-Fi and the tools, and talking with our customers. But now my perspective is more around the features and the products themselves, and really trying to see a bigger picture, right, of where the needs are in the industry, how we can improve products and add additional features and functionality to the tools that exist today.
So you're I guess interfacing with guys who now are boots on the ground. What are some of the common things people are running into, are talking to you about, or setting schedules and appointments with you? Like, what are some of those common pain points that you're running into?
Yeah, I mean, Wi-Fi is everywhere, so it's been really eye-opening to see where Wi-Fi, is being used, and just really the common theme is about criticalness, right? Of just how Wi-Fi is becoming more and more critical, and that's really driving the need on, where my role is and where I fit in is, figuring out how we can improve the tools that are there today, and continue to develop them to meet the needs that our users and just the people that are on the ground running these networks day in and day out, as well as deploying these networks. What tools do they need? What visibility do they need? And then as Wi-Fi becomes more and more complex with all the new revisions and enhancements and stuff to it, the tools have to keep up with that as well. So it's a constant battle.
Well, since we're talking Ekahau anyways, Sidekick has seems to be doing well. I know there's always a waiting list, at least on our end, trying to get it to different customers and stuff. What's been the experience behind the scenes with the Sidekick and the deployment and the rolling out of all of that?
Yeah, it's Sidekick was a unique product that was driven by multiple facets, but there was a need, right? So we needed to, as more and more spectrum was becoming available to Wi-Fi, we started increasing the number of adapters and things like that you needed to survey with to try and capture all this information in a reasonable amount of time. But then that created other pain points of, battery consumption and things like that. So, the Sidekick was then born out of some of those pain points that our customers were explaining of, not a long enough battery life to perform these surveys in an efficient manner, and not enough power output, and laptops, coming out with fewer and fewer USB ports, created all these different pain points that we had to kind of, come up with this new product.
With adapters on top of adapters.
Exactly. Yeah. You've got all these, you've got MacBooks now that don't even have a standard USB port on them. I had to come up with a solution to all of that. And, that's really where the Sidekick was born from. But we didn't know, how popular product was going to be. And really since day one, we've had a backlog of it and have been, it's been on the product side, a struggle to, address. I mean, it's a good problem to have, but it's a problem nonetheless. And, it's something that, we're working our way through and, have a light at the end of the tunnel, but not there yet.
You, before coming to Ekahau, where were you?
So
what was your journey into Ekahau?
Yeah, good question. So my journey, I mean, it depends how far back you want to look, when you're talking specifically Wi-Fi.
The dawn of
Yeah,
time.
exactly. I mean, Wi-Fi, I started getting interested in Wi-Fi as more of a hobby and
yeah, let's go there where you actually why did Wi-Fi even interest you and how did you get into that? Just kind of
interesting. I mean, it goes back to the days of I think it was 802.11g is really when I first got interested in it, of hey, there's some actually some speed to this. There's some capabilities here that we can actually do. We can actually move some traffic wirelessly, and I ended up picking up a Linksys WRT54G router. That's when I kind of got on board with the whole Wi-Fi thing. I used external antennas, so I was able to go online, buy an external antenna, and got really into this whole thing of
Was this just in your home, or was this actually in a helping a customer with something?
This is all hobby at my home. And to be honest, I didn't really have a lot of interest in the Wi-Fi piece for my own usage. I was using a desktop computer. There wasn't really I had the house all wired up with Ethernet. So to me, it didn't really appeal to me. But I'm hey, you know what? I've got some neighbors, right? So I ended up actually getting a business internet connection for the house, putting an external Wi-Fi antenna on the house. I didn't know anything about RF at this time or Wi-Fi or anything of the mechanics, how it worked. This was all brand new, but I wanted to see how far I could actually take this wireless signal, and actually was feeding Wi-Fi to some of the neighbors across the street from my house. I had an uncle that lived across the street from my house at that time, so got him on board with that, and really just kind of justified all the expense of that by charging people a small amount of money per month, and that was my intro to Wi-Fi.
So entrepreneurial
Yeah,
ideas birthed your interest in
basically became
Wi-Fi.
my own WISP, wireless internet service provider. And this was way back of the 802.11g days. But yeah, that was like I said, it was all hobby stuff then, and I didn't know what I was doing. I'd crank the transmit power up as high as it could go, and I had really no understanding of how Wi-Fi worked, but made it work, tweaking knobs and fumbling my way through it. But kind of fast forward from there, I stuck in IT, pretty much since the dawn of time. As soon as I was out of school, and even in school, I was really into computers. But stuck in IT my whole career. A lot of help desk type stuff, and then started getting into, actually went to school for route switch and learning more of that wired side of things and routing and switching. And that was kind of what I envisioned I was going to go into, because this was still before Wi-Fi was really huge. And I didn't really have enterprise experience or anything like that. So I started out with that, but Wi-Fi was starting to get really big at that same time. This was over 10 years ago when I started that. I mean, Wi-Fi was getting pretty huge then anyways. But yeah, they went to, apply for a job and ended up getting hired on by a system integrator that was also a AP vendor. They were a value-added reseller of VAR. So yeah, we got brought onto them, and because they were also a VAR for a AP vendor, we also, they needed somebody to design wireless networks. So even though I kind of was brought on more for the route switch type thing, they had an immediate need for this Wi-Fi thing, and they just didn't really have anybody on staff that knew Wi-Fi. And even though I didn't really know enterprise Wi-Fi at all, I said, sure, I'll be that guy.
So take me to that internal decision there, because I know that there's people, you hear that story a lot, like, okay, you're the Wi-Fi guy now. You have a router at home. Was there a moment as like, sure, I'll try this, like, why not? Was it fear, like, oh man, I should do this, I want to do this? What was kind of going on when you were willing to say yes or kind of take that move?
Honestly, a lot of it was, it was me getting my foot in the door. Like this was kind of what I needed to do to get my foot in the door, right? So like,
and you could recognize that, like, I need to do something. This is an opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like this organization. I didn't really have any enterprise experience at that point, and this company hired me on that's dealing with all enterprise type gear. And it's like, they're giving me this opportunity here. I'm going to say whatever to kind of get my foot in the door. And it's like, it was definitely interesting to me. Like I
ran my own WISP.
Yeah,
of course,
exactly.
I can do that.
Well, of course, I mentioned that stuff in the interview to show that there was definitely some interest there. But so I ended up being brought on essentially as the wireless designer, given a bunch of Wi-Fi tools. And, no training, just pretty much handed these very expensive Wi-Fi tools and said, here's what you need to do your job. And I had to basically figure it out from there.
Was it like literally on the job, or did you have a time where you kind of played with those in a safe zone, or did you go right out there and start learning?
Oh yeah.
Doing?
It was like my second week on the job or something like that. I was at a customer site in like Nebraska or something like that. And I had like one other colleague that was with me that was at least somewhat knowledgeable with the tools and more knowledgeable than I was as far as Wi-Fi goes. But it was pretty much like, here you're going to this customer site, you need to do a survey, and they're having some problems with their Wi-Fi, and you need to figure out, what's wrong with it and create a remediation plan. And, it was like literally like the second week on the job. Like I think I was installing the tools on my laptop.
What was your list of tools back then? Do you remember what started off with?
Yeah, I was using Air Magnet was the first tool that I ever had exposure to. I think I had the whole Air Magnet suite. That's just what the company had at the time when I was hired on, 10 plus years ago there.
Yeah.
I guess, it wasn't 10 plus years that I was there, but it was probably about at least 6 or 7 years ago there. But so I was given the whole suite, installed that, and had to, stumble my way through it and figure it out. And while I was on site at a customer site, basically, and going through the whole process of figuring out how to use it. So it was a bumpy start for sure. Figured it out though. We did solve the customer's problem. It probably took about twice as long as it should have. But stumbled our way through it and figued it out.
At least you probably had a little bit of the the wizard behind the curtain. They didn't know any more than you did, so
Yeah.
you were.
Yeah.
They didn't know how long it should take. So
exactly. No, we fixed the issue. We actually, they were really happy with the results of it, and hired us on to do a bunch more projects after that. Really, that kind of set a chain of events there of doing a bunch more work for that large customer. Really even internationally.
And then was it in that role and with that VAR for a while until Ekahau, or did you take a different journey from there?
Yeah, that really kicked things off. I was with that organization for about 2 years.
Okay.
And that really kind of set me on the whole, the whole journey that I guess is kind of taking me where I am today. But that was a big turning point. And started from there learning about, as soon as I got all the stuff and I realized how over my head I was, I'm like, all right, I need to figure out, some training or something to learn this stuff. I went through the Ruckus Wise training. That was one of the first training things that I was exposed to through the organization that I was at. And I went through all that and learned a lot. That was really helpful to kind of kickstart things. Then there was really 3 main things that I can think of that stand out to me. If I was to give anybody, something to get started on a journey. And the 3 main things that stick out to me was the CWNP program, WLPC, and Twitter. Those were the 3 things that would definitely stand out to me as the biggest influencers on my career and my journey.
Where are you on the CWNP certification level now?
Yeah, so CWNP, I've achieved the CWNE certification, the Certified Wireless Network Expert.
What's your number?
238.
Nice.
And achieved that. It was probably, I don't know, I guess less than a year ago now, but a little over 6 months or so ago, I think I obtained that. It was about a 2.5-year journey for me from start to finish of the CWNP program. I don't remember which one of those 3 things, CWNP, Twitter, and WLPC, which one of those came first. But each one of those played a significant role, I would say, in my, journey and career. So those would be my 3.
That's really interesting. So we've got a certification training program, a conference, and then social media.
Yeah.
How do those interplay together to help move you along and strengthen you in your industry, in your career?
Yeah, so CWNP, specifically the CWNA certification, was a huge one for me. So that's it's a great way to kind of break it down from there. You got your training, your conference, and you got your social media, and I think each one of those adds a significant amount of value when I look at that to my career and my journey. So CWNP, that was that real structured training that I needed of just laying the groundwork of what Wi-Fi is, the mechanics behind Wi-Fi, and testing your knowledge, right? Having that certification and just building that confidence piece, right? So being able to take those exams, say, okay, yeah, check that box. I do know that I meet this kind of level in the industry of this knowledge. The CWNA was, a really good one for me because it gave me that broad understanding of, Wi-Fi and, just really to me opened up my eyes to how much I didn't know, right? The whole CWNA process. And there's just so much content in that and it's so valuable and just really kind of set the course for where I wanted to go career wise. Then from there, somewhere in that process early on in the CWNP program, I found out about WLPC, probably got on Twitter and then heard about WLPC. Maybe even like reading CWNP, it mentioned something about Twitter. I don't know. I'm not sure where I got on the Twitter kind of bandwagon thing, but I never used Twitter prior to being in Wi-Fi. And actually today, even still, I don't use Twitter for anything else other than really Wi-Fi. I don't use it as, interacting.
And how are you using it? How is it useful? What does it do for you? How do you interact with it? And what does that mean you're using Twitter for Wi-Fi for Wi-Fi? Yeah,
so to me, Twitter is my Wi-Fi news feed more than anything.
Okay.
So that's where I stay up on top of Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi related events. And just a lot of other wireless professionals and keeping up with them and interacting with them. on there. But yeah, I would say more than anything, it's my news feed, right? So that's, Wi-Fi is just ever changing. So CWNP really laid the groundwork for that, but stuff is just constantly evolving in Wi-Fi. So then I use Twitter to kind of supplicate that and stay on top of Wi-Fi related.
Okay, so let's go real practical. Someone who's just like hates Twitter, like, it sounds like you weren't using it before.
Yep.
You jump on, you create a profile. Where now are you finding and how are you actually beginning to build your feed, your news feed? Where are you going? What are you doing? How would someone get started with Twitter? Maybe that's a way to ask that question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm trying to think back when I first got on Twitter. I mean,
I know, it's once you get started.
Yeah, it's kind of this ball that just keeps rolling, right? But yeah, I think it's just all about, you start following a couple of other like-minded people of, other wireless professionals. And then, Twitter is pretty good at, hey, you might want to follow this person, suggest this person. Yeah. So, yeah, I would say, for example, if you follow myself at JOLLA, at Jolla, if you will.
I'll put that in the show.
Yeah, exactly. Look at who I follow, and I can pretty much guarantee you 99% of the people that I follow, the probably 1,000+ people I follow at this point, are 90% or more of those are Wi-Fi professionals.
Yeah. And I know, like on WLANpros.com, we actually have like a Twitter role, and I know some of the other websites have that as well, where you can go there and say, we just have a list of a lot of people who are active and involved in Twitter.
Yeah.
So
yep, that's a good point.
Cool. So you just get on there, you start looking and I guess interacting, or it's a place to ask questions as well.
Or just lurk, right? That's what I think a lot of people do. And honestly, the majority of the time, that's what I do. I'm just kind of, I'll check it throughout the day or a couple times a week or something, and just kind of see what's going on in the Twitter feed. And, I find out all sorts of interesting stuff on there that I probably would not see otherwise. Honestly, I wouldn't have this job at Ekahau if it wasn't for Twitter. Like, that was a huge thing for me. Like, I saw the tweet from UC in about the job posting back when I was hired on originally, and checked it out through Twitter, and I doubt I would have seen that job posting or ever would have ever would have gave it a second thought if I hadn't been following UC on Twitter.
So we started talking about this with your journey. You're going through, you're having different experiences. This job comes up. Talk a little bit about making these job switches. What was going on? What predicated it, and what kind of gave you the impetus to say, hey, I want to check this out? Was it you want to dive into something different? Was it just looking for a change? What was that like for you?
As far as when I took the job with Ekahau, you're saying?
Yeah, like why change a job? Yeah. Why take that? Why make that move?
Yeah,
what was going on?
That's a great question, because honestly, when I did apply for the job at Ekahau, I was not looking for another job. Honestly, when I saw the job posting, I said, hey, I know some people in Wi-Fi. I had a job in Wi-Fi at the time. And actually had just started with that company, even was only with them for about 6 months or so before I saw that job posting, and read through the job description and just really liked the job description type of thing. I'm like, this is checking all the boxes of things that I would like to do.
So you saw an opportunity that you weren't necessarily looking for, but because it came on the radar and it seemed like a more ideal fit for you. Is that kind of...
Yeah, and I just really like the company as well. As a customer theirs for a number of years, and interact with some different people on the support side and the product side prior to all of that happening, and just really liked what I saw there as a company, and thought it would be a good fit for me to join on.
So let's go back to the younger Jerry.
Yeah.
Any advice you'd give to yourself starting out that maybe you wish you had, or some encouragement? What would you tell yourself that 10 plus years ago?
I mean, honestly, I'm pretty happy looking back at the journey, not to sound, I don't know, whatever, prideful or whatever, but like, I'm pretty happy with the way the journey has gone. If anything, I would say, I should have gotten started earlier, right? Like, as far as like, if I would have known about the CWNP and, known about those kind of programs, as gotten started on that kind of stuff sooner, that would be about the only thing. I mean, there's been definitely, certainly has not been a completely smooth ride, along here, but all of those kind of bumps and challenges and stuff along the way, in the end, I've appreciated and I've learned through that. I think, I needed that. I couldn't just, go from point A to point Z type of thing. I needed those steps along the way.
In your kind of vantage point where you're at now, what's something you're seeing in the industry maybe that's frustrating, or if you could wave the magic antenna,
the magic antenna,
what would you change?
Nice, I like it. I guess, I don't know as far as in the industry. I think I think one of the big challenges is just education, in just, looking at even my own career, of just the fact that, I was hired on with no knowledge and just kind of given the tools and really wasn't given the training, to do the job. I think, I would like to see employers more, more open to that of, if they are going to bring somebody on that's more junior and doesn't have that kind of experience, that they're going to be at least willing to invest in that person and train that person. It seems like that's a reoccurring theme that I do hear from a lot of people is, they're at a company and, they've got to pay all this out of their own pocket and they don't get a lot of support from their employer. And then I think we just see that a vicious cycle, right? Because they don't train these employees. Either they end up leaving, or worse, they stay and they don't have the knowledge to do their job or use the tools. The other thing that's frustrating is like these employers that are willing to spend all this money on tools, but not the proper training to use the tools, right? So, they'll shell out all this money, thousands and thousands of dollars for these tools, but then don't train their staff properly how to use those tools, and then wonder why their network doesn't work properly or why they can't properly troubleshoot these issues. So that's I guess the biggest mistake I probably see reoccurring.
So in your own life, is there a particular mistake or something you did that really taught you something valuable?
Every design I did was perfect. Every deployment I did was perfect. Yeah, I think back to some of the earlier, Wi-Fi designs that I did when I didn't really know what I was doing and how to properly, take certain requirements into consideration and things like that. And I'm just, curious how things are going today, a few years later or something, with some of those where it's like, I probably should have, taken this requirement into consideration, and, that probably would have had an impact on the overall design. And, but yeah, overall, it's all lessons learned, right? As you continue to learn more of this kind of stuff, and as the requirements change and everything, that you learn how to adapt those into future designs and future refreshes and things like that you're doing.
Yeah. Well, let's get off this deep, troubling topic and
painful. Yeah,
something lighter. Yeah. What's a favorite piece of equipment you're using right now besides the Sidekick?
Well, I'm kind of known for the whole WLAN Pie thing, so I feel like I can talk about that. That's definitely one of the toys that keeps coming back around. That's another one of those kind of hobby things that it's been a useful thing, I think, to the industry, and I've been really happy to see some of the adoption that people have had with it, and making it their own and adding different functionalities. Wi-Fi Nigel, I've been chatting with him quite a bit, and he's been doing some really cool stuff with it, and creating some cool Python scripts to do different useful things with it. And that's been really my favorite,
cool.
Kind of, I guess, little side project tool that I've been playing around with.
Has there been a hashtag start on that? Because we probably should, just to see where they're going and what people are doing.
Yeah, we've been using,
because I know they're selling out at the store.
Yeah, I actually set up a separate Twitter profile for it, just because I was getting so much kind of conversation and traffic on Twitter for it. So it's just at WLAN Pie. So at WLAN and then PI for Pi, but at WLAN Pie, or people have been using the hashtag WLAN Pie as well, or the website is WLANpie.com if you want to check out the instructions and part list and all that kind of stuff as well.
And just real quick, the quick summary, just for someone who's new to this or interested in maybe we've piqued their interest. What is the WLAN Pie?
Yeah, so this really started off as, a WLPC thing, with Keith, and just kind of, it goes back years technically, but, specifically the WLAN Pie was a deep dive session for WLPC in Phoenix this last year. And we needed to come up with a way to do mobile performance testing, and we use this WLAN Pie as kind of the endpoint, right? The server on the network,
Yep.
and we put a bunch of different performance testing applications in a Linux image, and built this tiny little Linux computer that can be portable, battery powered, PoE powered. You've got all sorts, it's very versatile, right? So, and it's a Linux computer, and you plug in a Wi-Fi adapter and you can do a bunch of other things with it. So it's just a really versatile box that's very compact, very portable, and thinking of it for wireless engineers, something you can throw in your laptop bag, you can take to a customer site, you can plug in anywhere along the chain of the network there, whether you want to plug in at the head end of the network or somewhere further down the line to do some type of performance testing, troubleshooting, as well as other like Wi-Fi analysis things with the Wi-Fi adapter running Kismet, Horst, which is a live packet analysis. So you can do all sorts of stuff from a kind of a wireless LAN tool set goes.
Very cool. And they can get them on WLANpros.com on the store there. We have them. They're back ordered right now, but we have got a bunch more coming in. So very cool. Jerry, thank you for your time and for sharing any last bit of Wi-Fi wisdom for the world, for World of Jerry.
Oh man, last bit of wisdom. Like we talked about. I mean, as far as career-wise goes, I'll just reiterate the whole CWNP, Twitter, and WLPC. If you're not on those three things and you're serious about Wi-Fi, that's my last bit of wisdom. Get on all three of those and attend WLPC.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Matthew. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Wireless LAN Professionals Podcast, the podcast for wireless LAN professionals by wireless LAN professionals. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Wireless LAN Pros for all the latest news and updates, and also connect directly with Keith on Twitter at Keith R. Parsons. Head over to www.wlanpros.com for this episode's show notes, as well as the latest in all things Wi-Fi.